The Flyfifer and Just Another Monkey speak with criminologist and author Dr Sandra Lean. Talk is cheap. Let's talk.
Good day, everybody. Sorry for the delay with the cameras and everything like that, but here we are. We're sitting, James and Alan, the Flyfifer and Just Another Monkey, and we are talking today to Dr Sandra Lean. Now, before everybody gives me a hard time, Dr Sandra Lean has asked me to call her Sandra. So we're going to drop the doctor for now, and we're going to move on, and we're going to find out a bit more about Dr Lean.
Oh, you can call me doctor if you want. I'll take it.
You're just another monkey.
Dr. Monkey.
Anyway,
Dr. Monkey, thanks.
In-house, we've got Alan here again, and we're going to open discussion about Sandra, about who she is, where she's from, how she got to where she is today, and her reason for everything that she does. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you very much for offering to speak to us. You know,
thanks for asking me.
So, Sandra, I wanted to ask you about why, how did you get here? What pushed you in this direction? Because I did hear something from you, I think, on one of the many, many podcasts I've seen you on, where this wasn't your path. You were away cutting the grass and doing whatever, massages or aromatherapy, or it was a different field anyway. I've probably got that completely wrong, by the way, but
you're close enough.
Close enough.
Natural health. How did I get here? I have no idea, if I'm being totally honest. Started off as, I was bringing up my girls, and I got the chance to go to uni when I became a single mum. So I did my first degree in psychology and sociology, and then finished that and went on and trained for my alternative health stuff, opened a natural health centre, and that was going to be my life. That was me for the foreseeable. And a year after I opened the natural health centre, Jodie was murdered, and literally just 5 minutes walk from where the natural health centre was.
See the natural health one. What made you go that route?
I'd always been interested in natural health generally, alternative health generally.
Homeopathic stuff and all that.
Yeah, one of the things that had fascinated me for a long time was hypnotherapy, and how the mind, how the belief system shapes who you are and what you do. And if you change the belief system, you change the expectations and the way you live and everything like that. So when the chance came up to train as a clinical hypnotherapist, I was absolutely fascinated. I'd done a 4-year degree in psychology and sociology that was like, yeah, okay, whatever, all the theoretical stuff. And then there was this chance to go and really delve into the hypnosis and how it works, and learn how to use that, and it just fascinated me.
Yeah.
And that became a big thing, along with the properties of herbs and plants. And
isn't it fascinating that there's that many people nowadays, because I see it all the time, especially on TikTok, that they're all doing this new route, and it's like, to me, evolution has just it turned to revolution. They just kept chasing their tails, and now they're actually coming back. So a couple of 100 years ago, what would happen to you? The same thing you're going through now, right?
Yeah, they'd still have
a
go.
When you start wanting all that, and it fascinates me, anybody that goes into that field and starts looking at the books and the theory and everything, your mind just clashes, because you just done the same face, like, no, this is a lot of shit, this is rubbish. You know that there's something beyond that, and the herbal, the remedies that's there, the way that man manipulates it and turns it into this pharmaceutical thing, all he's done is just manipulated what was there already and then put a label and a bottle around it, and you think, but hang on, no, that's that, no, shh. Just you take that, don't you tell us, because we know how to read a book.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
And we know how to monetize it.
Yeah, I try to do an introductory into counselling. And I've said it before, and I didn't mind repeating it, because the person that was teaching, or allegedly teaching me, I had questioned it and says, look, what if your client doesn't want to open? She says, well, they wouldn't be there for counselling, would they, Alan? I said, but what if they've been referred by the courts?
Mm-hmm.
oh, I suppose you've got a point. And I says to her, I suppose you're getting paid for this. You're telling me something without questioning it yourself. So therefore, you're just, all you've done is you've got the ability to read a book and regurgitate what the book tells you. But you using that thing where you know it's wrong to think, no, hang on a minute. I know there's something beyond this, and you question it.
That actually probably explains how I ended up like going to uni and everything in the first place, because as a kid, I would not accept anything at face value. Drove my mother nuts. Just would not accept anything at face value. And some of the arguments and some of the frustration of being told just because it is.
And see, as you grew, what was family life like? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Woodburn, in Dalkeith.
So you've always been kind of rural, on the outskirts. You've not been in the heavy scheme life.
No, I mean...
But the Inquisition was always there. That's fascinating.
Yeah. I was my mum and dad were working class people. I come from quite a big family. My dad had 7 brothers, 2 sisters. So loads of cousins, all working class, all living on council estates. There's nothing... There's been a lot of talk since this stuff that it's okay for me in my privileged position. I still live in a council house today.
That's what I didn't understand. It's that prejudgmental thing that we were talking about, where people just perceive something else. And you're like, hang on, you've never asked me, like James says, how did you get here? Mm-hmm. What is it that drives you? Do you see an injustice? Yeah. And we'll no go into that one, but for me personally, for you to have an inquisition on everything, to just no take what comes at you, is obviously what led you to seeing something and watching everything is the circus rolled into town and think, hang on a minute, this just smells wrong. Yeah. I love that the mind will do its own thing over and above what anyone else tells them. I didn't understand how people can be just pigeonholed without thought. They'll listen to Good Morning Britain and they'll just swallow that and think, yep.
I think
close the paper and think, oh well.
I think fear has a lot to do with that, and I didn't mean like fear of being attacked or anything like that. They need to be seen to be like everybody else. They need to be seen to be a
follow on
good
the crowd, so
person.
to speak. Aye.
And the idea that speaking out would put you on the outside of that. Yeah. I think a lot of people just think, do you know what? It's a bit easier to say nothing.
Just sit on the fence.
Yeah.
Nobody understands that fence is rotten while you're sitting on it. And the more people that climb on it, to me personally, I think it collapsed a while back.
Yeah.
Just not that long ago, because there's no place to hide anymore.
No.
Everybody is available under the eyes of whoever is watching us. And that's why the revelations of truth is absolutely key to everything that we're doing right now. Like I said to you earlier, I want the complicit people in life that would have said to you, if you ever did, because I did, I was told, what are you talking about? You're a fucking idiot. Yeah. And this was for my own family, who I thought was my father, because I would question things. I just didn't accept normal. So when you're told that, I went and done a thing with it was a job I was doing, and they sent me along to this training session. So this guy, he does it all the time, and he's training me, and he says, he's like Bruce Forsyth, the generation came, right, okay, what we're going to talk about is judgment. He says, so, Alan, tell me, do you judge people? I said, no, I pride myself on not judging anyone. Who am I to judge anyone? Nope, wrong. You judged me as soon as I walked in the door, and we'll skip on and we'll keep talking shit. So my mind starts thinking, hang on a minute. Yeah. And you have the conversation, do I judge people? No. I can walk around Tesco's and I don't care if that guy's got his slippers on or not, because I'm not really paying attention to him. I'm looking for the product that I'm looking for. See, all the time my mind is thinking, see what he's trying to teach me and educate me with. I'm not listening, because my mate does that, and it's what I used to do at school. So I ended up coming, I got asked to leave. Thick as shite. Everything that I've learnt in life, I've learnt myself. The hardest way available. And I'm glad of that, because I thank nobody for the education I've managed to end up with. And it might not be clever, it might not be smart, but I will not swallow something that somebody else is regurgitating. So if somebody quotes me words for somebody else, I can see their character and think, but you didn't even have your own voice, because you're having to use him. Yeah. You're being puppeteered by somebody else. So it's fascinating to hear that you had that as a youngster to then go down the herbal road, because I think what you done then is what society. It's what everybody seems to be gearing towards just now. They're just deviating away from man's methadone programs, man's cycles, just repetitive rubbish. And they're going over here and they're trying alternative things. Imagine if this had just kept going for way back in the day, before you got drowned and set on fire, for questioning man's ways. Wonder where we would have been.
Yeah, and I think if you add into that mix what we're calling education, and I'm talking from 4 years old in the education system, we don't teach our kids how to think. We teach them what to think.
What to think.
And then beat the bejesus out of them if they dare to step outside of what you've told them to
Hands
think.
in the basket.
And for me, bringing up my kids, because of the frustration that caused for me when I was a kid, but why is that like that? But why... You've added that, and I don't see how they go together. Because it does. Stop being cheeky. Sit down and listen.
You're a disruption.
All of that. When I was bringing up my kids, I was like, I will never, ever say because it is or because I said so. If they've got a question, and I learned so much from my kids. Because sometimes they just go, Mom, I've been thinking. And I got to the stage where I was like, this could be interesting, because they did.
Definitely.
I mean, they came up with some amazing stuff, and again, they found in school they ran into the same thing. A generation
when
later,
the eyebrows come down, you think, hang on a minute, this doesn't sound right at all. It fascinates the life out of me, and it's really endearing, I suppose, is the word, to hear somebody else that done the same thing, because I've spent a lot of my time, and certainly, in that sense, working it out myself, but you can't express it because you're expressing it to the walls that have no ears at all, and you think you're just daft. Because the wording in itself, the primary school, when you prime something, it means you're getting it ready for the secondary part of that thing. So it doesn't matter what your money is, that when they tell you, okay, right, sit there, we're going to have story time, right? Or if it's, right, okay, now let's settle down, let's sit, you're actually formatting them. You're making them listen and take instruction. So when the alarm bell goes, it's the school bell, it's indicating when we do something, there's a transition. So the alarm goes to tell you to go to work. And then it's that whole format, and then people just get into the same cycle, and it just runs round and round and round. It's no evolution to me.
I think the other thing you've got there is built on top of that cycle is the better you are at that cycle, the more things you can have. So you can get bigger houses and you can get bigger cars. And then when the eyes do open, if the eyes do open, it's like, oh, wait, if I break that cycle, I lose all my prizes, I lose all my stuff. And the fear of losing stuff, which to me, I mean, I lost the house that I renovated and extended myself. I lost my business, all as a result of this work. And it took maybe not quite a year, which is longer. I'm a bit ashamed of that. I should have been able to deal with it quicker, but not quite a year of, oh no, poor me, why me? To go, hang on, you were a volunteer. You didn't have to do any of this. So it's stuff. It's gone. Oops.
That's it.
It's stuff. It's gone. Get on with it.
It's that big family that you come from, that what surrounded you was feelings. There was, I would imagine, you probably come in naked. You probably go out the same. You have no pockets to have cash in. So anything you amass in this time scale, it's something you picked up. I pick up pennies all the time. I think it's wisdom. I think it's knowledge. I think it's disregarded things. So you get somebody, didn't want that.
Yeah.
That's how we've become with people.
Yeah.
So you're questioning things disregarded because you're just going against what we perceive to be real. Well, they've never actually really sat and thought about it.
No.
That wee thing that I was saying in this one here, this one with the education, the foundation that you've already said with the big family and everything else, that's an education within itself. And that's what community used to be. This hole that we're in has been threatened because they can't do this, can't do that. And the amount of other community resources that are being defunded. swept away. And that, why do you not want us all thinking together collectively? Is it because there's 3 people sitting here? We're not going to argue on nothing at all. Why? Because we all see the injustice. We all see where you've tried to deviate us. And no, come over here. No, look over here. Don't look over there. Just look over here. It's the same thing.
It's interesting. I was actually thinking about this on the drive over, because another aspect of that is the sort of PC rules around what we can say and what we can't say, and even how we can say it or not. And what you've got now is people are more focused on the delivery than the content. So any message that you've got to get over, there's a big bunch of people there that cannot hear your message for worrying about whether you're saying it the right way or if you're using words that you shouldn't be using to
boxes.
Who's it going to offend?
Yeah.
Boxes.
Oh, yeah. Who's it going to offend?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't care. You know, if people are offended...
I have other phrases that it's me and I just don't give a flying fuck. I seriously don't.
That's what I mean.
For long. Yeah. And it's a preconceived idea. This is what I've learnt. Mm-hmm. So like I'd say to you, if the police officer punches me in a suit, he's got his uniform on, everyone that's standing behind him, and that's the whole Mother Hubbard's cupboard, he moves on, the next one comes in. Every one of them with that suit on has the potential to punch me in the face, so I'm going to be very, very wary of them. Mm-hmm. And I know that they'll say, oh, but that's the few bad apples that spoil the barrel. I didn't control the barrel, mate.
Yeah, and isn't that how they get us to accept all that sort of thing?
But it's the force, and it's not just one police officer that's maybe gone a bit rogue. He has a partner, and I know he had a partner because he was standing in front of me as he booted me up the behind for behind me. And then he has a sergeant, and then there's him and there's him. So there's a whole load of them. So if he's a bad apple, why are they not extracting them? Yeah. Why is it doing to me? It's that same thing.
Yeah.
We buy into it and we accept it and think, no, it's wrong. The injustices is everywhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of injustices, I heard you there's a point I want to pick up on, Sandra, where you said that I lost my businesses, I lost my home. You told us earlier that you're in a standard council home, as am I. You know, I'm in a standard council home. How did you lose that? What were the forces behind you losing that? Was it... I mean, you tell me.
It was my own doing. There's absolutely no question about that. It was my own doing. I became so focused on the case and the casework that I took my eye off the ball.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And that was it. Then the knock-on effect, the business failed. The knock-on effect was that I couldn't pay my mortgage. Yep. And I absolutely loved my house. I built it for the girls, you know, so they could have their own rooms. So it was a blow. And then I, woke up one morning and thought, you're being absolutely ridiculous. It's some bricks and some bits of wood. Like, your girls are still here. You've still got your girls. So, it was my own doing. But I have, in terms of the cost of doing this, people have thrown at me, oh, you got a PhD out here. It's not all been, lost. And I'm like, I don't claim it's all been lost. I've had some amazing experiences. Yeah.
PhDs aren't free though.
No.
I mean, that's a period of your life and time, which isn't free, really.
And it's not just
into the truth.
Yeah, it's not just the financial cost, the emotional impact of this work, the mental impact of this work. When I went into the PhD, I had this idea that I was going to go and interview all these people and get their stories, and then I was going to sit back and analyse them, and that would be that. And I don't know what I was thinking. These are real people, real lives, real suffering. And I went from one to the next, and I think I got to maybe number 3, and I was just sitting there with my head in my hands crying, going, I can't do this. I cannot just, thanks for your story. It went too deep, and then I had to look at a different way of doing that. Still getting the stories. The other thing,
just to clarify that, is that like other people's stories, not just Luke's, but other injustices out there, right?
Up and down the country.
Aye, because I wanted to speak to you about that because of the criminologist part of it. So Luke's a chapter. Thank you for that phrase, the phrase that pays. Luke's a chapter in your life. What other chapters are out there that maybe that need highlighted as well, or have been, or that you've investigated and stuff like that? Is there any that you can talk about, or are they closed books sort of thing?
I wish I'd known you were going to ask me that, because
I didn't. I came first talking, so
yeah, I normally ask permission to talk about.
Right, well, don't then.
The
It's
one
fine.
thing you will have noticed is a running theme through them all.
That's what No Smoke was all about.
Right,
in
right.
No Smoke, I picked out, I can't remember if it's 10 points or 12 points, and they turn up again and again and again. That cannot be accidental.
Right, okay.
You know, a case in the South England and a case in the north of Scotland.
Right.
Different police forces, different rules, different legal systems, and the same things
problem.
are coming up again and again and again. That's when you start, and I did that before.
So
the
rather than
PhD.
you saying it, I'll say, is that familiar theme the judicial system?
In its
Or a failing
Yeah.
within the judicial system?
in its entirety. So you have the police investigations that focus far too quickly on a chosen suspect and then build the case around them. And I don't think people really understand that. They think the courts are a separate system from the police. Well, the police put these cases together so that they fit seamlessly with the court process. And 2003, I think it was, the government white paper, where they started having members of the Crown Prosecution Service working directly with senior investigating officers. Well, why do people think that was?
Right.
So that the case, and they actually said, I can't remember the exact wording, so that more cases were successful. Well, what do they mean by successful?
Right.
Convictions. So they were actually putting prosecutors into investigations to tell them, no, didn't gather that, didn't get this, put that in. Yeah. So that they could, I don't know about anybody else.
Cherry pick for each situation.
That's not justice, that's obtaining convictions.
This was the answer I was looking for rather than the individual cases,
Sorry.
by the way. No, that's perfect because it's filled in the wee gaps in my head.
Yeah.
So what can you talk about with that judicial system, what you've learned from it? Because, I mean, he knows what he learned from it. We're visiting it now and again. I know what I've learned on a very minimal scale. I've been in there, but, I mean, you're involved in it. What are your findings for it? What are you thinking? Because I find it's pompous and it's just a money pit. I
have no filters, and I think it's absolutely broken. It's been smashed for a long time.
I don't.
It hobbles along.
I don't think it's broken. I think it's actually working the way it was always intended to work.
For them,
for them.
I mean,
right.
That's what I mean by it being broken. It doesn't serve the individuals. I've saw wrongful convictions over and over, and this isn't just elaborate in the media. I'm talking about it in mass circles. I saw one, and this was hilarious, but no funny for the individual. I'm driving a car. I'm a disqualified driver. Noted, hands up, I don't care. I'm driving. We were actually going to the court in this car. And this policeman who knew me came past and he spun that car on a 10 pence piece. He flew after me doing Inverleith and I know that area. And the road that I was going to go out into, I would never have got out. I would have to sit and wait in a space. So there was two other guys. There's one in the back, one in the passenger seat. And I says, right, we're going to have to run. So only one policeman, so he's got 1 in 3 chance of catching somebody. We just run. So we agreed, skidded the car, opened the door. He's almost took my door off. I've managed to jump over. I've ran away. They've caught me and they've caught the guy in the back by the time other officers appeared. Now, the way that the system works is there must be corroboration. So somebody has to come in and say, yes, we saw him driving, which I know is a blatant lie because he couldn't have. Because it was only him. But what they done was the guy in the back of the car, there was a warrant for England where officers in London wanted to speak to him regarding a fraud. So they had to hold him beyond, at the time it was 6 hours. They couldn't extend that for them to get up to actually catch him and take him down there. So rather than getting an officer to corroborate that they saw me driving, they said it was him that was driving and he got kept in. And they said to me, right, away you go. And I thought, And that's the opposite of an injustice, you think. But it just shows you how they play that game for themselves within that system that they've created, they maintain, and we just keep propping it up, we keep funding it.
Yeah. And 2010, so the Section 14 interviews in Scotland where they can hold you for up to 6, or they could hold you up for up to 6 hours without legal advice or representation. And there was a case that went to the Supreme Court, a human rights issue on these interviews without access to solicitors and things like that. And the guy won that case. It's known as the Cadder ruling. So the guy won that case. And the Scottish judges lost their minds. They absolutely lost their minds. Spat the dummy that, you know, we were being told how to do justice by a bunch of foreigners and all this. So what they decided was, as a response, they were going to take away the need for corroboration. So anybody can accuse anybody of anything, no corroboration, just out of pure spite. And that rolled on for a long, long time. I don't think they took it out completely, but you're seeing it now in like rape trials, sexual abuse, sexual assault trials, where a complainer only has to make the allegation.
Yep.
And that's it, fingers pointed.
See, my last
Got done with
conviction was 92, and I've never ever been back involved, so it's all new to me, this new stuff.
Yeah. That corroboration thing that you were talking about there, Sandra, I've just fallen foul to that because I told the truth, which one part of the truth that I told fitted the opposite's narrative that I attacked them. I didn't attack anybody.
Yeah.
I, for my own safety, pushed past someone to exit a building and I was done with assault. For my own safety. Not theirs. I wasn't attacking them. They were attacking me.
Yeah.
But because I said, yes, I pushed past that person to escape, oh well, you assaulted them.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that, again, that's, I think, the sort of, the build-up of outrage that we've seen in the last couple of years in Luke's case, I think is so many people have had little experiences here and there, and they've kind of gone, oof, that shouldn't have happened. And then they put it to the back of their mind as, oh, it was just a one-off. And then all these people are now going, wait, and it's happened there, and it's happened there, and it's happened there. And suddenly there's this sense of, this is all the way through the system, and nobody's safe.
For years.
Nobody's safe.
No.
I mean, they can literally pin anything on anyone. And what can you do? I mean, Luke's case alone, it's just, because everything I've looked at, everything I've listened to with that, is just like frustration. It's like, how can that still be in the case?
I can tell you a little bit about another case, because this one, to this day, I just cannot believe it. Somebody dialed 999 and said, there's a guy just gone on the house across the street with a sawn-off shotgun. And the 999 operator goes, right, how did he get in? And the caller says, well, he just went through the front door. 999 operator. So he hasn't broken in, he hasn't smashed his way in or anything. No. So what's the problem here? Says the 999 operator. I mean, again, that isn't a case, a horrific case where this guy gets done.
Aye.
Who's got nothing to do with it, and they've got nothing to tie him to the people that were involved, so they just make it up.
This is the guy phoning you're on about, no?
No.
It was the circumstance. Right.
That transcript happened to be in the paperwork for that case. But, so, again, that's an example of a case where they needed to tie him in somehow, the guy that got done in the end, because it's in England and Wales they have these joint enterprise cases where you can be accused of and convicted of the the main crime simply because you were there. So, you know, there's a load of young lads down south now who are serving massive prison sentences that never laid a finger on the victim or were nowhere near the victim, but their phone number was in somebody else's phone, so they must have been arranging part of the crime, and that it's a massive problem down south.
I know that there's a wee guy just got convicted up here, and they say that he had nothing to do with it whatsoever, but the sentence says, no, well, you were there, so you're getting the same, irrespective of what he may have done, if there were there's a new sheriff in town and we're going to clean up the streets and all the rest of it. Shouldn't they come into it? Their job is to prove beyond reasonable doubt that somebody done something, or at least it used to be, but like you say, no longer.
No.
Rules do not apply. They apply to them, but not to everybody else, which is very bizarre.
That's, you know, for years and years and years when nobody was listening, I was saying to people individually, this could happen to you. This could, and nobody believed it. Like, I've never been in trouble with the law. Yeah, well, neither had they.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
So that leads me to this question then, is because I also heard you saying in a previous podcast, wherever, because there's so many, that you got into this. In fact, it was you and I were having a conversation about it. You got into criminology to make a difference. So, and you were coming up against some pushback because you were trying to make a difference. Could you elaborate on that? It was just a comment between us. I don't think it was linked to any case or anything like that. It's just about you, more about you, why you got into the criminology part of it. Criminology, what is that? Do you work for solicitors? Do you work for the accused? Are you out in that pie at all? Or are you just someone on the back that looking into all of this and thinking, well, that's not right. Oh, did you know? What is the criminologist?
In my circumstances, independent.
Right.
But I can, if somebody brings a case to me, I can look at it and say, right, I've had a look at the forensic evidence here. I can tell you that was misrepresented.
Right.
Where they've said, now what's the phrase? Hang on. Is consistent with. And we've got Professor Alan Jameson to thank for this one.
Right.
You know, he's got a flea, and he says, jump. Flea jumps. Jump. Flea jumps. Pulls all its leg off. Goes, jump. The flea does nothing. And Professor Jameson tells you, so the evidence is consistent that if you pull the legs off a flea, it goes deaf. And it's one of those phrases that you'll hear used all the time in court. The other one is cannot be excluded. So and they did this with the partial DNA in Luke's case. They do it in just about every case. Cannot be excluded. Does not mean is fully included.
Right.
So if one marker, your DNA profile, turns up in a mixed profile, you cannot be excluded from that profile.
Right.
The problem with that is you guys have probably got 2 or 3 markers in common. So now you can't be excluded either. And so it's just this misrepresentation.
Into that terminology that can take the average, the layman, to think, oh, well, if it's not being excluded, that means it's included then because it's relevant.
Yes.
Whereas you say, no, it's a sausage in a pack of sausages. So it can't be excluded because it might have been that one. Yeah. Because they're all the same.
Yeah. So that's one side of what I do. The other side of what I do is look at consistency.
Yeah.
Right. They said he was here at that time and they picked him up there at that time. How did he get there?
Right.
Oh dear, we've got a problem here because he'd have to travel faster than the speed of light to have been there at that time and there at that time. So essentially I take the entire case.
So you dissect those things and sit and... Right,
yes. It's months of work.
What would your ultimate aim be then? To expose the failings? Because every failure that you can expose then has them having to actually do their job. And it's that great word that I can never, ever say is their due diligence.
You would hope so. I have two aims. One is to expose everything, and it has been since the beginning, and the other is to educate. If people don't know what's being done on their behalf, they're never going to ask for it to be done properly because they just don't know.
It's when you get into that scenario and you're sat there and you're trying to decipher what the Latin says because you're thick as shite, and they're having jargon, he's having jargon, yes, my lord, no, my lord. And I'm looking at the guy thinking, how far away are you for toasting your slippers? Because you're old, you're batchy, you're wearing a wig and a gown, but you're presiding over me. You're going to dictate my future. And I've got no say in this because I can't talk for myself. I've got another guy over here who doesn't know me. Mm-hmm. He's going to send me a letter and charge me money for sending me a letter. But I'm going to say, are you him? Yes, I am. Right, okay, sit down. And we'll discuss your future, and then you will find out what conclusions I come to. Where does that come from? You're not even my dad.
Yeah, it's one of the other things about the whole legal processes, court processes, the secret language. Yeah. And it's that secret language is not always obvious. So when they're waffling
what's
about
the Black's Law or something, some other book that people talk about.
Yeah. So if you're looking for precedents to support a case or whatever, but the secret language I'm talking about is right there in front of you, and you don't see it. So we've got all the old cases that they pull up and all their weird ways of talking and everything. But when they're speaking English like the rest of us, they're still speaking that secret language.
It's this legalese that you hear so much about.
Well, if someone in court says it's relevant, my lord, we all know what relevant means, don't we?
Yeah.
So if somebody came up with a knife related to a murder, that would be relevant, yeah? In our language.
Yeah.
Not in court language. If they said the guy was punched to death, there are a few puncture wounds, but he was punched to death, that knife's no longer relevant, get rid.
Right.
So it's the use of words that we think we understand. All of the evidence. All of the evidence means whatever they want it to mean, but not what we understand as... And you see this argument all the time. The jury heard all of the evidence.
Right.
The jury heard all of the evidence that the prosecution wanted them to hear and that the defence was able, under really strict circumstances, to bring in. So it's not all of the evidence. No. Never has been, never will be. Yeah. But they work on that, our ordinary understandings, keeping us dumb. Basically.
That's the worst thing in the world, that they can actually treat us like we're absolute idiots, that we're fools.
Oh yeah, they do.
That's what I'm saying. When I'm sat there and I'm having to look up to these people, you know, I didn't get this. My mind just goes away again. I'm dancing, and they have to remind me. Oh, by the way, you're still awake? Sorry. What did you say?
Yeah,
because it's just lorded over you. And I didn't get this. Well, if somebody's done something wrong, and the laws of the jungle is you get punished for that, but they wouldn't convict you unless they knew 100%. They never went on hearsay. Certainly not in the schemes. If you broke into somebody's house, there's a good chance somebody told them, seen you, and you were actually captured doing it. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't me. No, it didn't work in the jungle. But then when it comes to that whole side with the police, and look, come on, let's do this, let's say that, and eventually they'll go to the court, and it still wasn't me until they get convicted in court, because they turn up and say, see that's a forensic report with your fingerprints on the telly. Why were you in that house? Why is your handprint on that telly? All right, okay, you've got me. Why play the game? Why play the silly ass system?
Yeah.
In the first place, I just hate it. I absolutely hate that system. I wish it would just fall down. I wish it could all be restarted.
I keep saying it needs to be taken apart and
it's when you
built
look at
for the
guys,
ground up.
Definitely. That's the foundation. I think that where society had scraped through what they refer to as the arse of the barrel, they've went right down, they've went through the subsoil, and they've got right back down to a new foundation where we can step in and say, step aside and punch it back up and do it real. Because, like I said, these people that are sat there that actually know, the lawyer that knows it was his client, but everybody's entitled to defence. You're not giving them a defence, you're giving them an excuse to exonerate them by playing the shitty game across the table while the umpire's sitting above you. Just tennis. It wasn't him, it was him. What if we do this? No. we'll take the A5 charges into account as long as you do this. And you're doing deals, whereas the guy has never done it at all. But they're defending them. When they go home at night, we Chardonnay to knock them out because they shouldn't be able to sleep at night defending these people that are just...
I mean, I've not got a problem. I've not got a problem with the right to defence. Probably more because the system is so corrupt that if you start deciding who gets a defence and who doesn't, they'll just start targeting the people that didn't get a defence because that will make it even easier for them.
That's where they're going to make
so that's where I reckon taking it apart and starting again. It's never going to happen, obviously.
No.
Yeah, they're never going to let go of that power. The review of Police Scotland, first review of Police Scotland since they brought all the police forces together, came out at the end of, let me get this right, was it 2020 or 2022? Recently, 2020. And they were saying things like the police need to be more forthcoming, more truthful about their accounts. This is a recommendation for the police. Hello? They're to stop getting their stories straight before they give their statements. That's another recommendation.
Stop getting it straight.
So stop getting their stories straight between each other.
That's what I'm saying. that one officer that saw me driving the car managed to convince another guy to lie under oath to get this guy remanded and say that it was him that was driving the car. Like, but I was the guy driving, and I know I was driving, so I know you're clear. And it's that uniform that punches me in the face. Mm-hmm. If he lies, no, sorry, I'm out the game. I'm not playing your game. You're stupid until you can come forth and be honest with me.
Yep.
And I've met a couple of nice guys that only do it as a job. That's all it is. And they know not to make it up, not to lie, not to trick people and all this malarkey. There's no need for it.
Until the first time they're on patrol with an officer who does something wrong. And then they're compromised. What do they do?
That's
if
what
they
I'm saying,
report
the
it,
moral
they're
compass.
out.
That's what I'm saying. Only the odd one or two bad apples. But you tolerate them. Mm-hmm. You get rid of the bad apples. We shouldn't have to expose them. You already know where they are.
Yeah.
You deal with them. No, I mean, right now, when you look at the amount of cases that's coming up, that one that the guy just walked away, and was it doing the golf course? He was there, and he got his job, but he was still suspended on full pay while the police launched their own inquiry, which tells you that they're not happy with the courts have given him not guilty, that they're actually going to keep going. They think, come on. At what point does everybody get to smell the coffee? And that's what I mean, every time you're chopping that, we chop, just every book, every podcast, everything that you're doing, to me, is just hitting that injustice. Because it's an injustice on everyone. The system that I know, people that maybe got truancy, so they got put into the system. We sharp shock, and then you'll be back out. They run away for the system. Yep. Oh, no, change your rules. Now you belong to us.
Yep.
And you create these, potentially, it's Frankenstein creating a potential monster that comes into society. They're rubbing their hands because they've just done the whole, cash generator. We're going to keep finding them. We're going to keep everybody in a job. They're all high-fiving each other because they've created this potential monster. And to undo that, and I see it myself and the things that I do, to undo it, to see that a lot of trauma victims run out the door as a character. And it's only when they stop or they hit a wall or a 12-step program or something like that that they realise that they were only running on what reserve they had as a survival mechanism. It was never the individual person. It was the character that they portrayed. Mm-hmm. It's just somebody forgot to shout, cut. Yeah. And you come back to yourself.
Yeah.
But they're all the time, the system's like, go, keep running. We've got to make a fortune for this idiot.
Yeah.
Just, they treat us like
I mean,
that.
it's a massive industry. Anybody that hasn't cottoned onto that, it's like, okay.
He knows.
Recently as well.
I never ever paid my fines. I would never pay my fine either. I could spend that money on a pair of shoes. So no, I'm going to cost you, the taxpayer, because they think that we're abusing them and, oh, no, you can't do this and you can't do that. But hang on, it's never been your money.
Yeah.
We pay your wages. So technically, I'm actually bumping myself because you're not going to put your hand in your purse. When Boris got his wee fine and he just paid it straight away, you're like, no, you never. We did because we pay your wages. So you're actually giving us some money back into a system that's going to go back into your pocket anyway. I know drug dealers. I know how this system works. And it's the same as yours. Although you tell us that ours is wrong, yours is right. I don't think so. It doesn't work like that.
I mean, my own experience is I've been paying into it for the last 18 months just to actually fight for my daughter's rights.
Right.
My daughter's rights to her family. You know, and it has cost me an absolute fortune that I didn't have. I don't have it.
Didn't have anywhere.
I've not got it anymore, that's for sure. And it's been a lot of hard work just so that child can see her siblings, see her father, just because someone says no. So I've had to, you know, in this whole legal system, I mean, I've paid for it. It's now going in my favour because I've paid for it. But prior to that, it was like, oh, go away. You know what I mean? If you want to do that, it's £1,000 for your day in court. It's 220 quid for an hour plus VAT for an hour with a lawyer. It's £56 for 12 minutes to read an email and bounce that back to you. £56.
Where do those?
This is mental.
Where do those levels come from? Because you know, if you look at the different professions and the qualifications and the study and everything and the experience needed, how did they get that level of hourly rate? 220 quid an hour. Yes. I'd work an hour a week. I'd be quite happy at that.
Listen, same. I'd maybe day two just to get over the legal fees I've had to pay. But, you know, I mean, I'd certainly work one a week. That would be enough.
But that's the real question is how has justice become so expensive? Out the reach of most people.
The actual word.
It does.
It's not just because it's an injustice that
in itself,
only those who have can get. Those who don't, you get legal aid, you get stoated up, and you'll do as you're told because we're not smart enough to work it out. It's just the whole thing. Mine's with that story I told you about the 28-year lie. We were writing up wills and thought, right, okay, what about that? Because my name's on a certificate, a recognised document. That's fraud. Because the individual that actually got me to write that knew that it was a fraudulent document.
Yeah.
Can I get that reversed? Cost you £1,000 for your day, 135 quid for this, that and the other. You need to get the two parties to agree to come along, which they'll probably not come along anyway. And it's really hard to actually reverse a document. You know, so you're going to charge me 1,135 quid, piss off some other people. You then tell me you can't reverse the document because it's registered. But that's fraud. It's your system, and it's a fraudulent document that I'm held to if something was to happen. I just, honestly, that's where when you were wee, your head just goes to the side. You're like, Scooby-Doo. What?
How does that work? But what you were saying there about paying for representation as well, in the bigger cases, so I'm talking murders, rapes, things like that. And I've seen this happen in two families where they've ploughed tens of thousands into the legal team who treat them just the same as your guys on legal aid. I'm not explaining that to you.
Wow.
Leave this to us. We know what we're doing. It's been 2 years. Is there any progress?
Wow.
How dare you ask us? We'll tell you when there's been progress.
I did buy a new pair of flip-flops for your cash. That's how I see the psychiatric stuff as well, is when you go in there with an issue and you want it resolved, you want it fixed, and they'll be like that 20 minutes in, they'll go, right, okay, what we're going to do there, Sandra, is we're going to leave it there, but next week, how's about we look at that? And you think, next week, what's next week? Well, tonight you've actually paid for the Chardonnay. Next week, I want 2 bottles, and you're paying for it. I'm not going to fix you. I need you to come back. Just like that horrible system. Can we go for a bail here? Yeah, I want to plead guilty. No, you didn't understand. This is just bail. What does that mean? Well, we all need to get paid here because I've blown my whole candy over the weekend. You're paying for that. Come back in a fortnight, we'll milk you again.
Yeah.
It's a cash cow. You're just treating us, and you just milk us as we go in there, fleece you, send you to the door with not a clue what happened. Yeah. You either were guilty or you were not guilty. My personal thing is, when it comes to somebody that hasn't done anything, oh no, you get the wrong guy. I've flipped my tatties in the dog if you tell me the wrong thing. No. I've had them laughing. I can't mind her name. I better not mention her name. But she's smiling at me like, Mr. Carrick, did you not hear what I said? I thought, no, because I didn't understand the language. You're foreign. I said I would do this. Well, thank you very much. It says because you just didn't listen. They just do that. And you think, well, what happened there? And all I say, look, everything's fine now. Well, da. I've managed to do this and I've managed to do that. And I just saw you talking crap with that other guy. What have you done? Look, you let this one go and I'll do that for you next time. It's just tennis. And you're like, but it's people's lives that they play. You know that. You understand that.
It's interesting as well, the counselling side of things, the private counselling. After I qualified as a hypnotherapist and I was setting up the business and all that sort of thing, I came across a business model for that type of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things, one of the bits in this business model was ensure the client commits to at least 5 sessions for their own good.
For their own good.
I'll be.
Yeah, right. If it's something like stopping smoking or, phobias, things like that, if you can't fix it in 1 or 2 sessions, you shouldn't be doing the thing in the first place.
Aye. Yep.
That's to me, in civil engineering, your bosses, the people up there would say to you, aye, but remember, Alan, you've got to go back anyway. Why am I going back? Well, for snagging. That's snagging. So what you're telling me is the things that I get wrong. Well, how's it about I just get it right? I'll not need to go back. I would want to go back if I just do it properly, and then shouldn't there be any problems at all. If there is an issue, it's somebody else's issue, because I'm only going to follow the recipe to bake the cake. If there's a failing, it's yours. It's not mine. I've done exactly what you asked me to do. Oh, man.
It's like that, like you're saying, they've got to have the 5 sessions. When I went through the court, like I was saying about for my daughter's rights and stuff like that, it is crazy because we could have spent £1,000, went to court and had it all out in one go.
Yeah.
You're not allowed that.
No.
That £1,000 for 15 minutes, pal. And if we go over the 15 minutes, whoever the sheriff is at the time, he'll not be happy, and he might say to you, wait a minute. It's
that conjuring trick, though, isn't it? Is the sheriff going to be happy? Is he going to be upset? Or is it you that wants to move on? You need to be over at the district court. You can't hang about here.
Which makes me think that the solicitors are right, okay, because they did say to me at the time, James, this is going to cost you anything up to £15,000. Anything up to.
It's getting the rogue estimator.
Exactly.
How much will it cost?
And I'll tell you, they weren't wrong. And that was money that I had saved, banked for my future, for the kids' future. So the person that actually forced me to go down that path has actually just took money off their own daughter to give to some stranger.
You think that he's quite smart. That I tell you, he wasn't far off the mark. He was out by about 30 quid. Because he's dictating it and he's give you 30 quid back for yourself because he feels bad. Like, give him 30 quid.
Yeah. They've certainly not given me anything back, I can assure you.
Because I'll make it up to that number. Yeah. Very clever.
Yeah.
So, Would you ever go back to the holistic stuff? Would this ever get so much for you, or do you just think that you've got the bit between your teeth that no, this injustice has to be shown and the people need to? Because I remember during that whole COVID thing, that the Americans, they had it, and there was the thing called Q, all conspiracy, whatever they wanted to say. But the one thing that resonated for that was you cannot tell the people, you need to show them. Yeah. And again, your book and everything that you do is showing the injustice of that system, that it fails, and fails. How many times does it need to fail before everybody collectively says, is that your thing? And if that was the case, if you managed to be the one that just chopped it and that last bit and it just tumbled, and everybody says, no, we're not doing this anymore. This is what Mr. Schwab says is a great reset. We need to reset society and stop doing this injustice. We need to, if we're going to prove it, we have to prove it beyond everything else. Do you think you would go back to the holistic stuff? You're going to have to follow all these people. That
it's interesting. It's interesting timing that you should ask that, because I'll be 60 this year, and that's 20 years on this case. And I am
That's a big chapter.
Already, it's a big chapter, yeah. I'm already working on a project.
Yeah, that one you were talking about.
What I'm probably going to do starting this year, is start dividing my time, because I've pushed the boulder uphill for 18 years. It teetered on the top in 2021 with the documentary. It has started rolling down the other side. It needs to gather more momentum.
Yeah.
But I'm not, having pushed it up the hill, I'm not going to run down at the back of it.
Oh no!
Right.
I think there comes a time where it's not. You can't say I've done enough. You've never done enough.
Yeah.
But for my own sanity, for my own peace of mind, I have to say there's got to be a bit of life that is me. That's not just Sandra the campaigner, not just Sandra the truth seeker. You know, there's got to be somewhere in there for
just Sandra.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sandra, you should be
neck and
congratulated
shit,
for
you know?
that 20 years. You should be congratulated fully. You know, people should be congratulating you for it, because you had what you thought was a life that you wanted to do, and you had your business, your flat and everything like that. But then it's like some sort of weird calling. You were touched with something else that said, wait a minute, we're needing you to do this. You know,
Totally.
and it's only now, right, you've put in the time, like you just said, you've pushed the boulder up to the top of the hill. Right, okay, you can go back now and do that holistic lifestyle that you wanted. You could go chill out, you can go do whatever. And I think you should be congratulated for the 20 years that you've done.
Definitely.
You know, I've only known about it the last, I would say, paying any attention, maybe the last 18 months, 2 years, I would say. For someone to be, you know, fully immersed in that for 20 years, you've done your time.
It's that
You know.
wee bit of your mind that you put over there and thought, no, I'm doing this. And then you've no, because again, you'll be one of these people that, no, keep coming at me, I'll keep going because you're wrong. For to just pick that wee bit up and say, well, oh, that's my piece of mind.
Yeah.
To shove it back in.
Put it back in.
Because it's rolling. And I mean, that wee lassie in herself, she, to me, is the biggest part of it, because she's the one that's no going to rest until this is absolutely done. 100%. Me personally, I for everything that I've seen, everything that I heard during the whole thing, for the very get-go, because obviously I'm old enough to know it all, there was failings right across the board, and they should not be accepted, because in my own life I saw failings. No. So to see that, you can see the failings and think, no, I think society has to say, stop, just stop. Then he be burying your head, then he shut the curtains, then he lock the door anymore. No, they days have all gone now, that we just cannot allow this to go any further. So if you're stoned, rolling down that hill, just gathers, because when you see the injustice in one, it's like you're saying, oh, there's another one there, there's another one down there, there's one in Inverness, there's one there. It just shows that system just has to implode, it has to crack. My hope would be that the people that are up there, these educated bookworms that know this secret language, turn around and say, you know what, you're absolutely right. I might get disbarred for this. Well, why would you be involved in the first place? It's all that whistleblowing thing. Why can we not just have a time of truth?
Yeah.
Because I think you bring about peace in mind for a lot of people.
If you look at the whistleblower in Luke's case, who gave us the heads up about the destruction evidence.
Yeah.
That's mental, isn't it?
Now, you would have thought, when we got the word and we went to them and went, we've just been told this, is it happening? And they went, yeah. You'd have thought at that point, because we went public with it.
Yeah.
It was like, I am not covering this one up for them, not happening. Went public. You'd have thought at that point, such a major gaffe, like being caught red-handed. Somebody somewhere would have gone, yeah, right, we're wrong. We shouldn't have done it. We're 6 months later.
Yeah.
And they're still batting it back and forward between the Crown Office and the police. And still, nobody has said anything wrong was done. Now, in terms of public confidence, How can you trust an organisation that simply will not accept responsibility for anything?
That's it.
Like,
It's
no,
a big
we're
boy.
right.
No way you're saying it's a wee boy with his hand in the cookie jar. Wasn't it me? That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you get caught with your pants down, you're going to get your ass smacked. You have to. But it's the way that they just...
There's a real arrogance as well. It more even than I would say with the lawyers, and I'm going to be a bit unkind and say at least the lawyers have got a level of education and understanding to be arrogant about. When it comes to police officers in these circumstances, I'm not going to say all of them, but police officers in these circumstances, there's just that culture of we're right and everybody else is wrong. And like,
It's the sheriff's badge.
the blank eyes, like, you are not actually thinking here. You're just saying the same thing over and over again to keep yourself right. I'm right. And it's impossible to argue with them. It's absolutely impossible.
That's the same thing to my mind as I see it, and I work it out. Trauma victim, character. Police uniform, come to Tully Island School, character.
Yeah.
And they know how to play the part, that they do think that, and you're like, hang on, the amount of officers, and it's no funny, it's never me being bravado, but the amount of them I say is, take that off and I'll beat you like I'd beat anybody else. I have no qualms. Your uniform does nothing for me.
Yeah.
It's the one that puts the pants over their trousers in the morning and thinks there's something else. Like, you're playing a part, you're another character.
Yeah.
I'll punch the character out of you and then we'll see who's behind it. Because it's a facade, so when you get that smugness and everything, that there's something different. No, you know. That's what's lovely about getting to see all their failings. So the rapist, the abuser and all that, and they're all wearing that same suit.
Yeah.
Like, well, hang on, see me as a criminal, you'll fly with the crows and all the rest, they'll get tired, but so will you, so will you. So hopefully that's where we are, that they're getting to a point where somebody's going to tip and you're going to get the blows coming out a lot more, especially when it comes to an injustice, especially like the young man's case. Like, it wouldn't matter, we'd done it, we failed, and we failed horribly.
Yep.
Yeah.
How you can sign up to it.
20 years in, the balls or the stones at the top of the hill ready to roll over and gather its own moss, if you like. What do you think's next for you then, Sandra? What's your...
Is it too
if
early
it was
in
a
this new
one... Eh?
I'm saying that when we had a chat earlier about trying to fanny about your cameras, Sandra let something go. Are you allowed to talk about it, or are you like me? I didn't talk about these things because I think that'll put them off.
I'm allowed to talk about it. I can talk about it. And what I will guarantee as we sit here is the trolls will come out of the woodwork and the accusations will be that it's for a million different reasons than the actual reasons.
And what is it you're going to do?
I'm looking at setting up a community project.
Community?
In particular, growing food for the local community.
Cannabis.
And,
we know what you're all about.
Well, it is. and you know, obviously, because we're going to be supporting people's mental health, we'll grow the cannabis and then give it to them, and they'll be sound.
Aye.
So that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Right, guys? Clearly, we're joking.
Aye, obviously, aye.
So they'll be thinking, no, she's serious. I heard her saying.
Yeah. The idea, you said earlier, you know, time for me to chill out. I'll never chill out fully.
Maybe just take the hat off for a bit.
I don't think I'll even take the hat off for a bit. I'll just kind of go for a stroll.
Right.
In between times.
Take time out.
I think this is in my blood now.
Right.
I don't think I'd ever be able to. I stopped taking on new cases a couple of years ago, in particular after the documentary, because the inbox just exploded.
Right.
And that gives you an idea as well how often it's still happening.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I cannot go back to, back when I would say maybe 2007, 8, maybe up to about 2010. I had cases. I carry a lot in my head. I find it. It's just the way my head works. But I need to have it all stuffed in there so that I can go to the individual boxes and put it together.
Aye.
Having 4, 5, 6 cases like that on the go. The amount of work, the amount of memory, the amount of working out what goes where, the ever-present risk of mixing up details between one case and another, or calling somebody by the wrong name, you know. So I have cut back on all of that. I don't do that anymore, or to the same extent anymore. So I think maybe it will come more down to, I am looking at writing another book. I've kind of started and stalled and thrown it out the window and started again. I probably will do another book in the next couple of years.
Right. Speaking of books, this is the latest one, Innocent Betrayed, that I should be plugging actually for you. There you go. That's the cover. Get it on Amazon and everything like that.
Just be careful with Amazon at
careful.
the minute.
Oh, I was going to say that actually.
Yes.
Don't pay any more than $19.99. If you're paying any more than that, you're being, what we're saying, ripped off.
Ripped off, absolutely.
So it's no more than $19.99, and that's it there. You can see that. Perfect.
And
and there's another book, sorry, that you were saying.
No Smoke's
No
actually,
Smoke.
it's out of print at the minute.
At the minute, right.
Because a couple of the people in it are no longer with us.
Right,
so it needs
okay.
to be updated. I've just never had time
Fair
to
enough.
go back and update it. I do believe there's a couple of outlets on Amazon,
Right.
like independent outlets still selling it.
Still
I don't
selling
even
it.
know where they got it from because it's not in print at the minute.
Wow.
And I'm going to order some more author copies of Innocence so that I've got them at home. And if people can't get it for $19.99, they can contact me directly.
Right.
And I'll sign it and send it out to them.
Send it out. Right.
I let the last load run out because it was supposed to be moving.
Right.
And I didn't want to be lugging boxes of books with me.
Fair
and then,
enough.
of course, the move fell through and I didn't have any books. Right, I'll order some more then.
So No Smoke's getting redone, and are you going to re-release that then, or release that? That's still to be released. Sorry.
No Smoke was released in 2007.
Right. Okay.
So it just needs updated, and then it'll be back
and then
on.
you'll re-release that,
Yeah.
and then you've maybe in the next couple of years got another one in the off.
Potentially, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I find it hard to get started. Once I'm started,
Aye.
I can stay with it. But getting started, that was an absolute nightmare to write.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I haven't read it all, but I started reading it, and when I started reading it, I was like, right, okay, because I struggle to read. I really I'm a listener. Can listen all day long. I read and I forget what I've read, and then I turn the page, and then if it's black on white, I have to put a film over it, like a different colour, because the words, the black just swims about the page when I try to focus on it. So, but we're going to stop now, and we're going to take a break, because this book is what we want to talk about the case.
Yeah.
And I want to let you do a lot more talking about the case. I think we found out a bit about you the day that was good. It was good to find out about the criminologist and stuff like that, but that says about an hour and 10 minutes, so I think it's good to take a break. Aye, it's amazing. I mean, if you guys want to keep going, let's keep going, but I think it'd be good to take a break, stretch the legs, get a drink, and come back, and we'll speak again, but we'll try and dive into Luke's case, which is your current. Anything you want to say?
No, I'm delighted. Again, everything that you say prior to that is absolutely spot on, because it fits just absolutely perfectly into what you're doing for this young man and the injustice of society, because you've known your entire life something's no right, and to see something as big as that and think, whoa, shut the fucking door. This is wrong.
I had no idea I was taking on something that big.
How could you
at the
see
time?
that coming?
No idea.
That's a surprise one. That's brilliant. Though.
So, criminology and things like that, Sandra, anything you want to finish by saying just now, or is there anything you want to
So a lot of people getting in touch saying that they want to study criminology, they want to do what I do. And the only thing I would say is a criminology degree in its own right won't prepare you to do what I do. There's different areas that are not within your criminology degree. Just a warning, because I think there's a lot of people think if I just do the criminology degree, I can go out and do what she's doing. You'll need a bit more than that. But if anybody's stuck, drop me a message and I'll point you in the right directions. And
to get a hold of you, is there any ways? What's the easiest way to get a hold of you? Is there like a Twitter or any social media? Or?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook.
Right.
And I've got 2 pages on Facebook. I've got my Sandra Lean, my everyday one, and my Dr Sandra Lean. Right. So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. And I think on one of them there's an email address. It was the email address for people ordering books.
Ordering books, right.
I think it's on my Dr Sandra Lean one.
Right. And ultimately, if you contact Sandra, Dr Sandra Lean, what are they drilling through to us there?
It came through the floor.
Sounded like it, be nice. Be kind. This is a person, a human being. You know, if you're going to chuck anything, think about it before you chuck it. Because what's the point? And I'm going to just... Back, it might get chucked back, aye. She's got the big man on her side.
It's interesting, actually. Something that surprises a lot of people when they meet me is my thing about straight talking, like I was saying earlier, about what we can say and what we can't say and everything.
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of people by surprise when, if it comes right down to it, I just say something exactly as it is and you see the sorry.
Aye.
Are you going to get offended now because I told you the truth exactly as it is?
With the filters.
Yeah.
With the filters, yeah.
Yep.
The truth every time, eh? I mean, we've had hours and hours about talking the truth and what it does and what the problems, and then...
It's the alternative to the truth. We've lived in that for a long time and it fucking hurts. So I'm all for truth.
Right, let's go and take a break. I'm going to play us out with this, my usual wee song. Thank you very much, Sandra. I hope we hit some of the bases there, but we'll get in about it after this.
Fizzy water's no fun.
Is it not?
Yes. Sponsored by Highland Spring.
It's you, Alan.
Oh. Toodle pip for now and hi-ho silver away.
Sandra? You can still speak.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios, amigos.